Let's reduce the print time, not the print quality. Now, what improves print quality more than anything else? Simple, layer height. But layer height also influences print time. I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, have at one time or another loaded that super quality profile in Cura, the one with the 0.12 millimeter layer height, and clicked on that slice button and saw the print time climb from, say, 8 hours all the way up to 14 hours. Been there. After a few choice words and a few failed attempts to reduce the print time, we hang our head and we choose the standard 0.2 millimeter layer height profile instead. It's also the main reason why so many people are using bigger nozzles. Save time. But what if we could get better quality prints with our 0.4 millimeter nozzle and our 0.2 millimeter layer height profile without increasing print time, and in some cases, reducing the print time? We're going to take a look at how to exactly do that using Cura's adaptive layers and get your printer pushing plastic. I'm going to use this oversized chest pond to demonstrate what adaptive layers are and how to use them. The first thing we'll do is add adaptive layers to our settings menu by coming up here to the search bar and typing the word adaptive. And the category for experimental settings comes up right away. Now, adaptive layers have been a part of Cura since sometime around 2017 or 2018. I'm not sure why they're still considered experimental. Click on the settings symbol and scroll on down until you find the Use Adaptive Layers and check the box. Also check the boxes for Adaptive Layers Maximum Variation, Adaptive Layer Variation Step Size, and Adaptive Layers Topography Size, and close out the Settings Visibility dialog box. Now scroll on down in the print settings to the bottom and you'll find experimental settings. And there's where the adaptive layers options are. I'm going to leave it unchecked for now. Let's slice this and take a look. It's going to take 4 hours to print with the standard quality 0.2 millimeter layer height profile that comes with Cura. Let's take a look at the preview. And as you can see, there really isn't anything different that we haven't seen from any other slice profile or model. Now, take note to the number of layers, 532. Now let's come up to the top of the screen and take a look at the bar that says color scheme. It's currently set for line type. Click on that bar and change it for layer thickness. Now we're looking at a greenish blue preview. This color bar over here is showing our thickness range. Currently the dark blue is showing a layer height of 0.2 millimeters, and yellow is also showing 0.2 millimeter layer height. In the middle is this greenish blue area. No big deal there, right? Yeah, I know. Get to the point already. Okay, so let's enable Use Adaptive Layers and reslice. Now we got all kinds of cool colors going on here. Before we get into the colors, notice that we dropped off almost 30 minutes from our print time, and our layer count went from 532 down to 482. Our model is still the same physical size. It's just using less layers, less time, and less material. Now, let's look at our settings and see what's going on. The first settings we're going to look at is the maximum layer variation. We're currently set to 0.04 millimeter. Our profile is using a 0.2 millimeter layer height, so our layer size range will be 0.16 millimeter at its smallest height and 0.24 millimeters at its tallest layer height. It's basically taking our layer height and applying a plus or minus value of 0.04 millimeters when needed. So when we look at this color scheme for the piece, it's showing a layer height of 0.16 millimeter for the dark blue. It's taking the maximum variation of 0.04 and subtracting that from our layer height in our profile of 0.2 millimeters to give us 0.16 millimeters. Wherever we see the dark blue on the model, we're going to be printing at a layer height of 0.16 millimeters, giving us a better quality on all of these curves and the slopes. If you were to set the maximum variation to 0.8 millimeters, those layers would print out at 0.12 millimeters. That's the same as Cura's super quality profile setting. The yellow area, those layers are now printing at 0.24 millimeters instead of 0.2 millimeters. We went up in height by the value that we have set in our maximum variation. You'll notice that happens in the areas that are straight vertical parts or just the areas where the curves aren't really detailed. You'll also see some areas of the green that's still printing at 0.2 millimeters. The next setting we're going to look at is the adaptive layer variation step size. This is the increase or decrease of the next layer when compared with the previous layer. Since the layer height range we're using is from 0.16 up to 0.24 millimeters, we don't want one layer going from 0.16 right up to 0.24 millimeters. That would leave a pretty nasty appearance. You would want to go from 0.16 to 0.2, then up to 0.24 millimeters. If you look at our sliced model, you'll notice that in almost every case, the yellow areas that are using the 0.24 millimeter layer height are separated by at least a thin green band where it's printing at 0.2 millimeters to make the gradual transition to the darker blue area of 0.16 millimeters. Except for this area right here, where there's a sharp edge rather than a gradual curve. Pretty smart of Cura to figure that out for us. The final setting is the adaptive layer's topography size. This setting is the horizontal distance between two adjacent layers. I like to think of this as like the tread on a staircase, except in this case, as the tread changes, so do the risers, meaning more or less steps to climb to reach the same vertical distance. If you increase this setting, thicker layers are used and the edges of each layers are moved further away from the previous edge. Decreasing this setting will use thinner layers and bring the edges of the layers close together. This gives us a nicer looking transition in curved or sloped surfaces. But going too low is going to increase the number of layers and increase the print time, as we can see when we compare the same chess piece with a 0.2 millimeter topography size and changing the topography size to 0.1 millimeter. Our print time increases from 3 hours and 32 minutes to 3 hours and 49 minutes, and our layers increase from 482 all the way up to 524. But overall, the physical height of our model has not increased at all. I almost always use the default setting as 0.2 millimeters for my topography size. I downloaded this simple twist open mushroom from printables.com. It was created by 3D Printy. It's a nice model. Now, the top and the dots are primarily dome shape, and because of the lack of straight vertical sections, it may not be the best model to demonstrate time savings, but it is a great model to demonstrate how adaptive layers can improve quality. I printed this one with the standard 0.2 millimeter layer height, and this one with the same profile, except I enabled the adaptive layers and set the maximum variation to 0.04, the variation step size to 0.04, and the topography size to 0.2. All are the default settings in Cura. I printed only one base because I only need one. One of these two tops will be saved, and the other will end up in the tub of shame with the other failed prints, scrap purge lines, the skirts, the rafts. At a quick glance, they look similar to each other. I'm noticing a rougher looking top on this one, while the dots are looking a little smoother on this one. I'm going to be keeping this one printed with the adaptive layers enabled and scrapping this one. Do you agree? Let me know down below in the comments. I hope you found this information useful and can apply it to your own prints. If you did, please hit that like button, smash the bell so you'll be alerted to new content in the future. Live your life one layer at a time, and please subscribe.